Hello everyone. Today we are going to try and crack a tough nut. A question every marketer has in their minds: how to get more visitors to fill your web forms. My name is Vaijayanti. I head the marketing efforts for Zoho PageSense, and today I have with me Deepak, who is a pre-sales engineer, and we are the presenters for today's session. The agenda for the day goes like this. First, I'll talk about the reasons why people abandon your web forms and how to tackle it. Following which, I will discuss about form analytics, and then Deepak will give a detailed walkthrough of PageSense's form analytics feature. If you have any questions during the course of the webinar, please feel free to drop them in the questions tab onto your left. Our team will be answering them, and at the end of the webinar, we will also pick a few of your questions and answer them for you. Okay, as marketers, as business owners, we all rely heavily on web forms for lead generation in some way or other. It could be a newsletter subscription or a form you ask visitors to fill in order to read your content, in other words, gated content, or contact us forms, purchase forms, and so on. And we also spend a fortune on different marketing avenues to bring visitors to our forms. But no matter how hard you try, not all visitors are going to submit their details to you. It might be difficult to drive everyone to fill out your forms, but you can definitely get people who start filling out your form to complete it because they're already willing to share their information with you. And for them, your form is kind of a gateway to get in touch with your business. It's like the single point of contact for them when they come to your website. But shockingly, two-thirds of visitors who start filling out your form abandon it. Why is that? When someone starts filling out a form, it means they're willing to make a trade-off by exchanging some of their personal information for something they think as valuable on your site. However, it only takes a split second for them to change their mind when they face some kind of friction on your forms. And this could cost you dearly. In order to get more submissions in your form, you need to first understand why people abandon forms. Here, let's do a quick poll to see why you personally abandon a form after you start filling it out. You will see a poll now. Pavitra, can you share the results with me, please?
So 32% of them have voted for form is too long.
Okay.
18% of them say too many questions. 27% of them say too many mandatory questions. And 23% of them say security reasons.
Okay. So we don't have anyone for the last option?
No, we don't know.
Okay, that's great. So now let's see if the data I have matches with our poll answers. So according to a research, 29% of people have security concerns with the form, and 27 are concerned about the form's length, and 11% don't like distractions such as add-ons and other advertisements. 10% don't like being asked unnecessary questions. There are a lot of other reasons, but these are just the top 4 reasons for form abandonment according to that survey. Okay, so how do we tackle this situation and improve form submissions? Security is one of the leading contributors for form abandonments. You have to be completely transparent with your visitors. Tell them the purpose of your form and what you will do with their data. You have to explicitly state if you generally share the data with your business partners as well. Because people want reassurance that you take their data seriously. With new data protection regulations like GDPR, CCPA, and so on coming up every now and then, you have to be really careful about privacy concerns more than ever. The next thing is create a shorter version of your form with minimum fields and A/B test to see if it outperforms your longer ones. If you are in the insurance or travel business, you might need a longer form to get more details. In that case, you could break it into different parts and have a progress bar. This will encourage your visitors to track their progress, know what's ahead, and calculate the time they need to complete your forms. So this is when you need a longer form. And don't try to sell all your add-ons using one form. Too many choices will confuse your visitors and they might bounce off from your page because of that. And the next thing is, don't ask unnecessary questions that even you might not require. For example, asking anniversary date or birth date in a newsletter subscription is just extra. The best way to tackle this would be to ask yourself this question. So, why do you need this information? What do you need it for? Self evaluation can help you solve that particular problem. And this is a very basic thing. Forms have to be responsive. Optimize your forms for different devices. It has to be consistent across devices because bad user experience can hamper your conversions big time. So sometimes you fill out a form and when you submit it, it throws numerous errors. That can be a real deal breaker. We have all been in this situation, right? So this is where inline validation can help. I'm talking about the green and red ticks that you see next to fields in certain forms. It tells a user in real time if they're filling it right or making an error. This way, the user gets instant approval rather than getting to know an error after submitting the form. And show summary boxes, show cues on how to fill a particular field. Password fields are the most annoying ever, at least for me. How is a visitor supposed to know they have to fill a password with minimum 8 characters, 1 alphanumeric, 2 special characters? So just tell them what to do. And the next thing is, this is really important. Give visitors a good experience. Include drop down for country fields, industry fields, and wherever possible. You can minimize the number of clicks in your forms and don't summon an alphabetic keyboard when they have to fill a zip code. These are simple things but can have a great impact in terms of user experience and eventually conversions. This is a very interesting observation. Some people just fill out a form if you remind them. About 19% of people said they were willing to fill out an abandoned form if they're reminded about it. So next time, when you want your customers to fill out a form or your event attendees to sign up, just give them a nudge. Who knows, it might work. So that reminds me of something. We have added a feedback form at the end of the webinar, so please fill it out for us. Okay, so I've spoken about form abandons and how to handle it. But how to analyze your forms? That's when form analytics comes into picture. Form analytics helps you understand how visitors interact with each and every field of your form. It shows how long visitors take to fill out a particular field, how many corrections they make in a form, field re-entries, the last field before abandonment, completion rates by segment, etc. So you can optimize your forms to increase conversions. So why do you need form analytics? You spend a lot of money on marketing trying to get someone to your form. So you get a lot of visitors. Most of the time, we obsess over the number of visits, the number of people who bounce off from your page, and king of all, the conversion rate. But the data in between, the data between a page view and form completion goes missing. So that's what form analytics is for. You might have heard this a bazillion times, but I'm still going to say this. What gets measured gets managed. If you analyze how people engage with your forms, you will know how to optimize it. So this is how form analytics in PageSense looks like. This is the report, and you can see how many visitors come to your page, how many visits, how many people start filling out a form, how many people complete a form, and how many people abandon your form. We also have field level metrics. It will tell you fields that people hesitate to fill and fields that cause friction. Deepak will explain that in a bit. We also have powerful segmentation to see device and location specific reports. Let's say your mobile audience accessing your form from Chrome browser have all abandoned your form. In this case, it's worth checking if there are any breaks in your form on Chrome browser and whether the form is optimized for your mobiles. These are the valuable insights you can derive from form analytics. But that alone might not be sufficient. You have to pair it up with other quantitative and qualitative tools to get a better result. You can create a heat map for your forms to see areas that get your visitors' attention. This will help you identify elements that are distracting your visitors in your form. And then you can create a session recording to see if visitors get stuck somewhere in your form. You can identify UI UX blocks and fix them. And lastly, test your forms. Not sure if removing a field will contribute to your conversions? Test it out and see the results for yourself. It's demo time, so over to you, Deepak.
So before starting everything, I just wanted to give you a little brief about what is conversion and what you're going to do in, say, PageSense and what you can do. So we are all concerned about conversion and optimization, and we just want to know, like how we can improve our conversions with the help of the website. Also, with the current pandemic situation, I believe we all got a chance to know that our websites are really very important when it comes to converting our visitors and increasing the sales with respect to like a day-to-day sales and business activities. It is very easy for us to simply say that optimization can be done at any point, and it's more like a process. But also please understand that optimization is going to be a repetitive process, and you have to do it again and again and again until like you just have a very good satisfaction, but never stop it. So I'll quickly show what is there in PageSense and how you can get use of it, because a right tool for conversion optimization will really help you to arrive at the solution very quickly. So PageSense is a platform that will help you to understand your website visitors and help you to optimize your website. So you could see multiple modules that will help you to achieve the same goal. So you could see modules like track, which will help you to understand your business goals, create goals that will help you to target the conversion, and create funnel analysis that will help you to see the visitors funnel, that is the flow of website visitors through multiple pages in your website. And here comes my favorite part, analyze. So analyze part will help you to understand your website visitors behavior. So that is more like you're going to understand uh, your future customers or your current website visitors, and you're going to see how they are interacting with your website. So that is really very important, and that is going to help you in increasing your conversions and even your brand value. So analyze part will be helping you with that. So with the help of understanding and collecting data, you'll be able to arrive at an hypothesis that is going to help you to optimize your website. So in that particular situation, you'll be like targeting your website to run some A/B test, or it could be a split URL test. Both are going to be same when you compare the result. So you could do some test and understand how your new variation that you create is going to work for you. And also we have personalized module. So with respect to current situation, I believe like personalized is going to be like really helpful when it help you to go one step ahead and customize your website for your audiences. That is going to be more like a personal touch. And here comes the last part, engage module. That is like interacting with your website visitors. So you're going to conduct some polls, or if you want to push some notifications to them for some product update, or if you're going to give some pop-ups with offers. So those kind of interactions can be made with the help of engage module. So with the help of all these modules, I believe you will be able to understand and optimize your website with like a lot of options. So in order to start using PageSense, the first step would be, I would like to say that you'll have to install the code snippet in your website to start tracking the visitors. Snippet is a two-line code snippet that is going to be there in your website, so that you'll be able to track the visitors and collect reports on them. And there are two different snippets. One is synchronous and the other one is asynchronous. So this depends on what type of experiments that you're going to run. For example, so a synchronous script is going to load synchronously. So that means line by line in the DOM. So that will allow the DOM to render one by one. So whenever you're running an A/B test or like split, this is gonna give Flickr in your website. This may happen. So in that particular situations, we'll recommend you to use asynchronous code snippet. Otherwise, synchronous should be fine for you. So all set. So we have a code snippet in your website, and like we have got to know about the modules in PageSense. Now what next? So since today we are talking about form analytics, and like Vaijayanti has shown us how a form is really crucial in your business and how it can really help you in either losing your site visitors or converting them as a customer. So let us dive directly into form analytics and see how you can create one in PageSense. So I'm going to give a new form. So this is going to be my a form that I'm going to do for my website Zilker. So this is a sample website, and it's more like an e-commerce website. We built it for sample purposes. And today I'm going to take a contact us form, so a basic form that would help us to understand how this is going to work. So you could see I have name, email ID, mobile number, and a message, and like the submit and reset button. This is all like a sample basis. So in PageSense, not just for form analytics, for all the experiments, you're going to be needing only one thing to start configuring an experiment, that is the URL. So once you type in the URL, you are good to go with configuration. It's pretty simple as that. So I'm going to take the contact us page's URL, and I'm going to start using it. So I'm going to test with this URL. So please note that we have an option to include multiple pages, also exclude multiple pages. So when that will be helpful is that, let us say that you are more like an e-commerce website, or a website that has forms in multiple pages. So there could be like a form that will be there in the home page, or it's there in the product page, something like that. In that scenarios, you could use advanced option, so that you can target multiple pages for which has the same form, and you can also ignore few pages that you do not want to track. It is totally a like business choice. So in choosing the type match, so we have something called URL match. So that will help you to match with the URL that you want to track. So there are different options in that. So I'm going to quickly give you a glimpse of how each could be used. So that will be helpful when you try it on your own. So simple URL match is going to be there when you start doing this. This is by default, you'll be having simple URL match. So simple URL match will help you to match the URL whatever you type in here, only that, excluding the query parameters. For example, if I have something like a query is equal to something 1, so those kind of query need not be entered here. If you just type in the simple URL match, that page will be targeted. Whereas if you need to include that and be specific, you could use exact URL match. That will help you to target a specific page, and whatever you enter here should be there in the address bar. And here comes the URL pattern matches with. So this will help you in case if you have some multiple pages and you want to target them. For example, let us say I have my site hosted across multiple domains, for example in IN and EU. So all I'm going to do is that I'm going to type an asterisk here. So this is going to be like a pattern. So whatever URL is going to be there in my address bar, here the star will replace whatever that's going to change. For example, if I just leave a star here, if it's going to be com, or it's going to be IN or EU, this is going to just replace that and match the other input keys in the URL. And the regex match. So regex is the regular expressions. So let us say you have multiple pages and you have a complex pattern that you want to track. You could get use of regular expressions. I know it's pretty sometimes it's really hard to do some regular expressions if you're niche to the market. So you could get help from our help documents that will help you to use multiple pattern matches and how you can use them. And URL contains, this is simply I could just use a contact. So whatever URL that has contact will be matched here, and starts with. So in case if I have 3 different forms in 3 different pages, so for example it's going to be page 1 and page 2 and page 3. So what I can do is I can just give URL starts with, and I can give up to contact and page. So whatever, like page 1 or 2 or 3, it's going to be obviously starting with this URL, so it will be matched, and simultaneously likewise in the ends with as well. So these are the different options that you can use to target your audience and the target URL. So I'm just going to use something very simple here for the sample purpose. So I'm going to just simply target the contact us page. I'm not going to exclude any page here. So now I'm going to fetch the forms. Please note that here, when you click on fetch forms, PageSense will automatically fetch the form in that particular page. And there are two different forms in that scenario. So let me quickly just give fetch forms. So I could see there is a form fetched from PageSense end. Its name is not known and ID is not known because it might not have been coded at all. So in that scenario, I could add a form manually. So just we can say this may happen when you have a dynamic form in your website. There could be two different forms in your website, either static or dynamic. So a dynamic form is something that renders in your website when the page loads, something like that. Whereas a static form will be coded in your HTML and included directly, and it loads directly. So if not, your form is not fetched, you can use form manually. So I'm just going to show you what has happened here, and so that you can understand. When I gave fetch forms, I've got some form fields which says queue. It's very pretty easy to decipher it. I'm going to just show you. So this is a form I wanted to target, and I'm just going to inspect it and see what is the form name. Please note that if you are non-technical person or not from a technical background, this is not going to be a big deal. So please do not panic here. So you could either get help from your developer to know the form's name, or you could inspect and find out the form's name easily. Yeah. So you could see my form here as contact us. We have used the name contact us. Also, please note that there is only one tip that that will help you to load the form here, is that your form needs to be in a form tag inside the website, so that we'll be able to track it. So forms which are not inside a form tag, or in some scenarios your form might be loaded into your website through an iframe. So for example, if you are using some third-party form builders, you may get an option to get just a URL built in that form, third-party form builder, and you will just insert that URL in your website. In those scenarios, you'll be having an iframe. In that scenarios, you could get access to that iframe and put the code snippet, so that you'll be able to access the form. So I'm just going to get the form name from here. If you know the form name, that's pretty much easy. You could just go ahead. So I'm just showing an option where you could also get the form name from console itself. So I'm just giving the form name. In case if your form has an ID, you could give that as well. So now we are pretty much good with configuration up to identifying our form. And here comes the part which will help us to understand or track the submissions. So we have something called confirmation page criteria. So most of the forms generally have a confirmation page. For example, if I fill this form, there could be a URL that will load as thank you. So that is going to be a thank you page. So that is going to be a confirmation page, and we need to type in that, so that we'll be able to understand or track if the form has been successfully submitted. So again, there comes the pattern matches that will help you to track that URL. And no problems, there could be sometimes forms that will not have sign up like a confirmation page. It will be loaded to the same page itself, and it could be through a JavaScript function. So in that scenarios, you could use a custom. So custom is nothing but you are going to create a new custom code and add that in the success of the form submission. So if you need you need to get help from your developer in order to do that, in case your form does not have a criteria success page criteria page. So here I'm just going to use a simple URL match and use the same page, since I have given that as a criteria page. So once this is all done, you're pretty much good to go. Please note that I just wanted to show you all the options, so that I wanted to make sure everything is known. So it is not that complicated when you go for it. You could easily activate it from your end. And once you do that, you'll be able to see a report something like this when you run a form. So this is the form analytics report. Since Vaijayanti already showed us what you can see in the report, I'll quickly jump into what are these metrics. You could see the total number of visitors who came to that page and how many visits made by them. So you can understand that a form's important metric is that you need to understand how many submissions are happening and how many abandons are happening. And then you can also drill deep down into understanding where the abandon is going on. So you could see the total number of starters out of these 394 visits were 165, and out of that 105 got converted successfully, which means they submitted the form successfully and they become a lead to us, whereas 60 abandoned the form without submitting it. You could see the total adding up to the sum of starters. So you could also see overall metrics based on timeline. You could compare them with the help of this infographic. And here comes the part where you could understand and compare the results. So the form submission statistics will show you the total number of failed submissions. The failure could be based on error thrown in the field, or there could be an error in the backend or server error. Somehow the failure has happened, and the total number of successes happened. And you could also see the average time taken to submit the form. So all these 105 conversions took 28 seconds to in average to submit the form, whereas the average time spent on the entire form including the abundance. So this will help us to understand. So for example, if people who are abandoning is also spending much time in my form, but the conversion time is also more or less equal to that, we could compare and understand that there is something wrong with the form that is making users to spend a lot of time but not convert it. Or in case if you see a less overall average time, you could also understand that people are spending less time in your form, they are not considering the form, or it is missing some important key factor that is going to convince your user to give their data to you, that is their details. So with considering this overall metrics, let me show you the field metrics that is available for you as a report. In field metrics, you'll be able to see in-depth field-wise analytics. So you could see our fields like name, email ID, and number and message. So those are actually loaded down here as individual fields, and you could see multiple metrics here. Focuses. So a focus is something people starting interaction with this field. So number of focuses will be calculated and shown here. Interactions is when people start interacting with the field. And refocuses, for example, if there are some fields that I'm starting to interact, but I just lost my attention from there, I went to another field or I came back to that field. So how many numbers refocus on that field will be shown here. And if there were any corrections, this is really very important, because if there were lot of corrections made, so people are using a lot of backspaces in your fields, it means that the data is quite sensitive and they are maybe hesitating to give the field, or it's really confusing for them to give the input to you. And drop-offs, if they started interacting with it but without filling the field, they dropped off of the form, that is going to be shown here. So this in-depth understanding of the field will really help you to understand if your form is giving you value to the business, or it's really being a showstopper. And next comes the comparison between filled and blank fields. A field can be left blank or filled with respect to the user and their filling type. So you could compare the total number of filled and blank for the particular field, and you can understand how many left them blank and how many filled it. So this will help you to see if any field is left out blank. So this is a sample site, so you could see a lot of blank. So that is because of the data populated. Whereas in your real-time forms, you could see that the field should be always higher and blank should be smaller, so, lesser, so that you'll be able to understand that the form is performing well. And here comes the main part, which will really help you to understand, which was already mentioned by Vaijayanti in the presentation, the hesitation time. The hesitation time is something that is going to be like, let me show you a sample. So I'm just asking a contact us form, which is more like it's enough to give my email ID and phone number, whereas my name may not be needed. So just a sample I'm just telling. So what I'm going to do is I start interact with this field, but I'm really hesitating now to type in the name, whether I should type or not. I'm just thinking over time. And now I'm typing my name. So the time taken by me to start interacting with it, and to time taken by me to focus on this and start interacting with this will be calculated as hesitation time, and it will be presented to you here. So you could compare the hesitation time for each field with respect to the average time spent on that field by the total visitors. So with respect to form analytics and field wise metrics, this will help you to understand your form in detail and help you to take decisions with the insights that you get from the visitors. And also know that you could filter down the website visitors based on multiple factors. We have something called segment audience. This is going to be there in all the features, and you could use this to filter down the visitors based on multiple criteria. New visitor and returning visitor. So whenever a visitor comes to the website for the first time, he'll always be considered as a new visitor, and we set up a cookie on their website. Until otherwise it is cleared manually, they'll also be considered as returning visitors whenever they come back. So you'll be able to see a new visitor and returning visitor with respect to visitor type. You could also filter down the fields based on source, like are they coming from a referral URL, are they direct visitors to our site, are they coming from social traffic, or organic search, or paid campaigns. These scenarios are tracked basically by PageSense directly for you, so you need not type in any criteria for this. And country. So in country, you can drill down up to city. So because this is totally based on IP, and you could see, you will be able to track the visitors from multiple locations. And device type, you could also see, which device is leading up to maximum conversions and abandons, and which browser is, doing the same. Operating system, day of the week, and hour of the day. So sometimes if it's e-commerce, or a very hectic business that is multiple times very much related to the time of the day, it is going to be really helpful to track them based on the time and hour of the day. So that will help you to filter down the visitors. And we also have advanced segmentation. So the smart segmentations are pre-built and given to you inside PageSense, whereas advanced is something that you can create on your own and play around with the filters so that suits your business to the max. So here you have options that you saw in smart segments as well. So I will just cover the ones that are not there. So current URL will help you to track the URL in which the visitor, where for example, if he is filling the form, what is the URL in which he is filling. And referral URL, are they coming from any referral URL? If you have some query parameter, you can use that query parameter. For example, if you're running some ad campaigns, for say you are running a Google ad campaign and you're redirecting people to your form, so you could use the query parameter here to track down the campaigns. And you could also use users and visitor activity. So using a user will help you to track down users based on the ID, or any input that you get from them and store them as a cookie. So this is more like a JavaScript variable. And visitor activity, so this is something that's quite interesting. You could also filter down the reports based on visitors activity. So all you have to do is you have to create a JavaScript variable that you can use here to track down the conditions being achieved or not. Also, as Vaijayanti mentioned in the presentation, when running A/B testing, if you want to track A/B testing for your forms, you could use this visitor activity place, and you can create some JavaScript variable that you can target here, so that you could create a variation. For example, I'm creating multiple variations. I could use a variation 1, so that I'll be able to see the report for variation 1. So something like that can be used when it comes to A/B testing. So that pretty much covers the segment audience type as well. So more or less, we have come to an end for demo of the product for form analytics. So for other demos, you could keep watching our space in multiple platform, and you'll be able to see. One quick thing that I wanted to share with respect to sharing some tips to you with respect to form analytics is that your form always need to be updated. So in sense of updation is that, so let us say that the current scenarios, people are all all over the world are facing the lockdown scenarios, and we're all in a pandemic. So the current form could also reflect the current user's mindset. For example, you could just add an empathy word there that will help the users to interact with your form. And using multiple other tools like like the features like heat map, session recording, coupled with form analytics will help you to understand your form's usage in your website. For example, heat maps will show you the click patterns of your website visitors in that particular page, and you'll be able to see how the website visitors are clicking on the form and how they're interacting with that. That will be really helpful when you visually see how the form is getting interacted. And especially session recording will be really helpful when you see a session of a user who's filling out a form. Please note that due to GDPR compliances, you will not be able to track the data input by the visitor in session recording. We'll just show like asterisks when they type some informations in the form, but you'll be able to see how they interact with the form. And coupling these multiple features like heat map, session recording, and conducting A/B testing with the form analytics will really help you to optimize your form to the max and like stay updated. And also I would like to share one more thing when it comes to form analytics, so that like that is helpful for you. Always we like I recommend my clients to consider the form more like a receptionist in your office. So you would have always noticed a receptionist in an office. So their very important work is that they make sure they like interact with the guests in a very pleasing way. They direct them in a very like adapt and apt way. So for example, if you have to interact with someone in the company and you're visiting a reception, you could see a receptionist giving you directions in order to make you to wait for that particular person, and get information from you that are necessary in order to direct you to the right person. So a form is more like that for your website in a virtual way. So a form is going to help you to interact with the customer, get them type in the data that you want to get from them. So it could be more like an email ID, or it could be like data that is respective to your business. So whatever it is, it's more like a receptionist way of approach, where you need to be very crisp, and you need not ask them multiple questions, or you need not be like very like stringent in asking questions. Ask them right questions at right time and inform them what you're going to do. So that will also really help you to make them interact with your form. For example, if you are getting some information more like a phone number, make sure you like make them understand that you're going to use that to call them, or like how you're going to use them, so that if they are like okay, they understand that that is very important for you to get back to them, they will definitely type in the sensitive information that necessary for your business. So with that, like I would like to conclude the demo session for form analytics. I guess you may have some like pretty awesome questions, and we could also in case if you want to discuss on offline, you can like come and reach out to us through our product and however you want.
Thank you
Over to you.
for
Thank
the wonderful demo. Now we'll take up questions. So if you have any questions, please drop them in the questions tab. So Stephanie asks, is it possible to have a funnel kind of view?
The view of the form in a funnel way.
Yeah.
Currently, we do not have an exact scenario, but we do have funnel analysis that you can set up for the form pages as well, so that you'll be able to track that particular page with respect to like multiple user flow through the websites. So if that is what you're expecting, you could separately like set up a funnel analysis for that.
So Baba Tunde asks, I have multiple forms. How can I use your form system on my site?
Okay, so there is two things here I need to tell. So when it comes to multiple forms, like it's one of the like one of the scenarios that we always see when it comes to clients. So they may have multiple forms. So you can use multiple forms inside PageSense. So that shouldn't be a problem. You can track them by configuring it. So one thing you need to note that is if the form is in multiple URLs, for example, sometimes on submitting one form, it will redirect them to another form. You will be able to like create multiple form analytics for them, separate experiments. So if each and every form is going to be a link or something, you can create one form analytics and track all the fields in that form in a particular experiment. So that can be done. But when it comes to multiple forms, I would always suggest that please ensure that your form is not like asking too many questions, or asking like multiple questions which can be asked in the later part. And this always happens when it comes to companies where they offer some services. You need to drill down to certain verticals in order to get total information from the visitors. So in that scenarios, please be sure that input the form fields that are really helpful for your site, and you can try to reduce the number of questions as much as possible.
Okay, Adavan asks how to connect forms to Google Analytics.
If you want to connect Google Analytics, we have a direct integration with Google Analytics. It's a single click away. So we have multiple integrations. So those kind of third-party integrations can be seen in our integrations tab. So that will be helpful for you to integrate.
Okay, Aishi is asking how to drill down on tangible or intangible reasons for form abandonment through this analysis.
Okay, one thing is that the number of reasons that you could drill down is like very subjective to the business that you run and your business goal. So you could see the total number of abandons in the form and the field. So that will help you to understand where the maximum number of abandons are happening. So if that particular field is giving you a lot of abandons, you could understand that that is where you need to work on, and that will help you to optimize it if you work on that field. So I believe I answered your question.
I would like to add something here. So, like we mentioned during the presentation as well as in the demo, you can create heat map and session recording to see how visitors interact with the elements of your forms. And you can also A/B test your forms to actually compare and see how, removing or adding fields, contribute to the conversions. So it's a combination of both qualitative and quantitative analysis.
Rightly said. Thank you.
Okay, so Kennedy asks, is there automatic integration with Zoho Forms?
Currently, we are working on automatic integrations with Zoho Forms. You could expect that in maybe like a couple of months, or max 2 months. So we'll keep you posted on that when it is like live.
So if you have any questions, you can reach out to us at support@zohopatrons.com. And these are the social media handles. You can follow us on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. We're also on LinkedIn.
In case if you have some questions also, you can post it there. Maybe we can answer that.
Yes, totally.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today.
Thank you, everyone. You've been a lovely audience today. Thank you so much.